Okay, so life lesson number 4 is if you're young, get a job as soon as you can. Um, Literally, first opportunity you get. So um, I would say depends in the UK. I would say a lot of people don't get jobs until there's a real necessity for them to earn money. So a lot of people don't have their first sort of jobs um, until university, or if you're from a sort of wealthier backgrounds, and you have your family to pay for stuff, it can be even longer. You don't have a proper job until you graduate university, and I just think it's a real shame because you just miss out on really the best. My life has been at its richest and um, most fulfilling, with or most insightful through the lens of work. Um, and by work, I don't mean paint your aunt's fence on a Sunday or whatever. I mean like a sort of. I mean you can do that as well, sure, but I'm talking about working with a sort of contract with a proper company. Honestly, it doesn't have to be a good job at all. I mean, that's kind of almost the worse the better. Um, you know, like my first job was a kitchen porter at a um, at a restaurant. I mean, it was quite a nice restaurant, but the job was really shit. Um, I was being paid like £6 an hour, which was more money than it was today. I guess it was meal deals. It was before meal deals went up to £3.50. Um, but but yeah, there's just something about that that's just so good for young people, and just the sooner you understand that sort of um, that sort of world, the better. And as soon as you reap the advantages of that, the better. I mean, I was like 16 when I got this job, um, and it was great for a lot of reasons. So I think one of the things it does is the first thing it does, and it's something that the Tate brothers talk about on a podcast. If you use Instagram Reels or TikTok or YouTube Shorts or whatever, you probably come across it. But it's just Tristan Tate saying how there's this young person who wants to quit his job and just do the sort of Hustlers University thing full time. I mean, whether that's a good idea or not, in the first place, it is another discussion. But Tristan Tate says, no, keep your job, because that is like a way of showing you how rough it gets if you don't focus. And that's certainly true. So you get that job at however young you are, and yeah, it kicks in pretty quickly that it's like fuck. Especially when you see older people do that job, which I'll get onto in a minute. You see someone who's I remember we had this old guy in the kitchen, this old KP, he was doing the same job that I was, being paid, maybe £5 more, £10 more, whatever, not a lot more. And he was 50, that had been his career, just washing plates. I was like, fuck, that is heavy. And it's not something I really realised before that. It didn't really cross my mind. The second thing it does is it teaches you the meaning of hard work in a way that I just don't think school does for most students. You know, especially if maybe if you're a really motivated individual, and maybe if you lack academic ability, school can be a great way to teach you, because you're on the back foot naturally and you want to get ahead, so you just work really hard and do really well, even though academically it's not your strong point. I think then school can be great for teaching people the meaning of hard work, but for most people, that's just not the case, really. You know, it's very rare you meet someone who's really hardworking at school. Not in my experience, anyway. Especially guys. And people can be quite gifted academically, but still, but all that does is just make them quite lazy, because they don't need to try particularly hard. But there's something about just getting a shit 9-to-5 job that's just a real, it's a real leveler. You know, it really just, it doesn't matter if you're clever, if you're stupid, if you're in good shape, if if you're sporty, if you're not. All that matters is you do what's asked of you. So it teaches you hard work in a way that you don't get from school, really, fairly reliably. You build a bond with people who are older than you, which is really great. I learned a lot from. It was really nice to have older friends, and sometimes they give me a lift back. Because I lived it was a sort of 20-30 minute walk. I made probably 20 minutes, I'd say 20-15 minute walk back home after. It was the next village along, basically, from where I lived. So sometimes people would give me a lift back, and that was nice. And one time they actually let me drive the car. It was before I had my license, so which was really, really exciting. They only let me drive it out of the yards, but it was quite invigorating, being a 16, 17-year-old guy who's never never been driven outside of a driving lesson context before. So anyway, that's really nice. Gives you good role models. What you want to be in the future, and I think the other thing is if you're not very, if you're not really popular at school, or if you don't really enjoy school for whatever reason that is, work can give you a great alternative, because you suddenly think, oh shit, life's actually, there's more to life than school. And similarly, if you are really popular in school, or if you do really enjoy school, and you go to work and things might be a bit different, you might think, oh shit, life's not just school. So it can be good both ways. But either way, it shows you a positive insight. I think an important insight. And the other thing is, fuck. There was one more thing I was gonna say. Yeah, it's escaped me. But yeah, that's the basics of it, really. It just really focuses your minds. learn the meaning of hard work, gives you perspective. Yeah, it shows you an alternative way of life. Shows you how most of your life is going to be really, which is very difficult. And yeah, so that's number five. That's number five. I can't remember that last point, but anyway, okay. So this one's a bit different. This is a bit more positive. This one really. I feel like a lot of these have been quite harsh in some places. So this is a bit more positive. And this is a quote from Winston Churchill actually. Apparently, so anything that's worth doing is worth doing poorly. And this just applies. The amount of things this applies to in life is just absurd. So the basic idea is that, particularly these days, we think it's only worth doing something if you're really going to go out and do it properly. And there is some truth in that, I think the best results you get is if you go all out, There's no point committing to a music career with the intention of being successful unless you really commit to it. There's no point it's actually quite hard to think of examples because I'm so sort of such a big believer in this maxim. There's no point competing in the Olympics if you're not going to come first. Get gold. That seems to be actually quite a lot. But this quote says no, you don't necessarily have to do it. You still get the benefits from doing those things just on a smaller scale. So, let's say you got a busy day and, you try to go for a walk every day, let's say, but you got a really busy day and you just think, there's no time to go for a walk, I'm just not bothered today. And then you have a really shit day because you haven't got your sunlight, you haven't got fresh air, you haven't got, your exercise, your endorphins are low, and, I don't really know the neuroscience, but all that kind of stuff, that's really annoying for you. And you have a really shit day because of it. So this sort of maxim, this philosophy would say, okay, you don't have time for a walk, fair enough, but just sit outside on your balcony for a few minutes, or your garden or whatever it is, and you don't get probably don't feel as good as you do, as you would have done if you had a full walk, but actually 5 minutes of sunlight on your face, some fresh air, a little chance to decompress, it's amazing what that does to you. And then, like I say, you don't feel quite as good as you feel if you had gone for a full walk, but you feel a lot better than you would have if you hadn't done anything at all. So just because you can't do the full thing doesn't mean you shouldn't do it at all. And yeah, like I say, just the amount of things it applies to is just ridiculous. So my I study Latin in my spare time. I do it for my degree as well, but I study Latin with an aim to just being able to read it like any other foreign language, which is incredibly huge undertaking. Incredibly difficult to learn an ancient language to that capacity. But what I've found is I've really embraced this philosophy with my way of learning it. So, when I first sort of took this thing very seriously, I'd just spend several hours, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours a day, just stomping up and down my room, sort of reading Latin out loud, which is my whole method. That's a whole other topic to get into, but reading Latin out loud, trying to memorize passages, whatever. And to some extent that was very effective. But got a lot on at the moment. You know, I'm a uni student, so I'm third year of uni. You know, I've got other hobbies, other sort of things I want to pursue like this, social life, fitness. You know, there's not so many hours in the day, but I still make sure generally every morning, I generally do it like when I have a cup of coffee, before I go to the gym. It's kind of routine. Is I will read just one page of Latin, or if not a page, you know, if I really can't be fucks, which sometimes I can't, just one sentence in Latin. Um, and I've done this approach for um, basically since the beginning of this term, and I've been amazed by how much I've learned. Just by because you'd think, oh, if you're not going to sit down and read at least a few pages a day, then there's no point in doing it at all. But it's amazing how quickly it builds up. And yes, it would have been better if I'd spent an hour reading it. But I just don't have time to do that. So this method's great. And same with you know, going to the gym. I mean, I take gym very seriously at the moment because it benefits a huge amounts of other aspects of my life. So that I sort of in my head it makes sense to spend a lot of time doing it. Whereby Latin, although I get a lot of pleasure out of it, makes less sense. But you know, even with the gym, I mean, I think if you struggle to go, and I do like a decent 1 hour workout, it's sometimes not a bad idea just to. I mean, Hamza Ahmed says this as well, and this is what really got me consistent with going to the gym. Is just go for literally get your body inside the gym and do one exercise, you know, like, and then everything else is extra, you know. Or, you know, even if that's too much, like, just do 5 press ups on the floor. Or, you know, if just one press, you know, it's just hilarious how small you can go. And if you just, and for it still make a difference, especially if you combine it with consistency. So, I mean, that's what really got me into the gym as well, is I just sort of started doing 5 press-ups a day. It literally was that. And, you know, over a week that accumulates 25 press-ups. So it's 25 press-ups that I wouldn't do. Wait, is that... 20, sorry, 45 press-ups. You got a good scope of my mental arithmetic there. And then, you know, that builds over time. And, you know, it took a while, you know. But then I bought a pull-up bar and started doing pull-ups as well. And one day I was like, oh, why don't I just go to the gym? Well, you know, I'm basically doing a full workout in my room. Like I'll just refresh my gym membership, and now I go every day, including rest days where I just do stretching, and you know, it just sounds so stupid that I just started from 5 press ups a day, but it really did. So yeah, anything that's worth doing is worth doing poorly. Okay, number 6, create a portfolio. Even if it's not a particularly good portfolio of things, if you have some kind of ambition or something you're working towards, it just does wonders to your focus. And even if you're not, even if you've not got any ambition in life, like just the idea of creating a portfolio, you know, everyone's got some kind of thing they could create, some kind of portfolio. You know, like I'm saying, I'm not saying it has to be good. Everyone has some kind of portfolio of something they could create. Even if you just pick something, then that's gonna have gonna transform your life. So like I wrote when I was in sixth form, and I was really passionate about writing music. I wrote hundreds of songs. And it's funny, I was actually going through them. I got them all scribbled down on a little notepad. At home, at my family home. And it was really nice memories to go over them. But ultimately, these I haven't really produced a proper portfolio of a lot of these songs. Some of them are really great, and I didn't pursue them to the. But it doesn't matter how good they are, because they're just sitting there written down on paper, and yeah, I could play them someone on the guitar, but I didn't record a lot of them, so they don't really have any value apart from the value they give to me. Now, I did create a portfolio in the sense that I recorded a lot of music as well, and that's given value to the songs that I did record to other people. But there are so many other songs I could have recorded, and yeah, it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's just a nice thing to I guess it's just a nice thing to look back on, But more than that, it's like, if you're serious about pursuing something, semi-professionally or professionally, or a side hustle or something, you just need things to show people, basically. And this YouTube channel, for example, I'm not saying they're amazing quality videos. I mean, you see my first videos, and they're literally just me walking to the gym in the morning, like, just holding. I mean, I'm the sort of holding my phone, like, the wrong way around. They're not very high quality videos, and but it was still good that I did that, because I at least had some record of what I'm trying to do here, and the same goes for these. I'm not a massive fan of. I don't think I'm really here to do really high quality videos. But I think there is something in, my speaking could always improve, my diction could always improve, and I think it will. But I'm not worried about how good or bad it is. I mean, a lot of this I'm just whispering on, but it's still something where I can be like, here's, my products. Yeah, I remember during COVID, actually, because we lived in like a village, and the vicar still wanted services to be sort of broadcasted on a Sunday, and he asked me to do the editing for it, and I don't know why he asked me, because I never went to church at all. And to be honest, I was a bit insulted that I mean, that's okay, off topic anyway. But yeah, anyway, out of the goodness of my heart, I did it. But there was a problem with me exporting the video, because I was using some old computer, some old laptop, and I was exporting it, and it just wasn't working. And in the end, what I did, it was just like 2 o'clock in the morning. I just couldn't figure it out, so I just filmed. I think I woke up early in the morning, and it just wasn't working. So I just filmed, like, the editing that I'd done from the computer screen on my phone camera, and then just upload that to the to the church YouTube channel. And obviously, everyone kind of laughed at me. They were like, "Oh, what is this shit, you know, like. But I just thought, if there are people who are actually wanting to go to church and, you know, they actually want to have a, you know, the ritual experience of a Sunday, it's very important to them, then this is surely better than just not doing it at all, which was my only alternative. And it's a similar idea with portfolios, you know, even if it's just dog shit what you're doing, it's just at least it's something. And you're amazed, it's amazing how quickly that escalates. So, number 7. I'm tentative about this one. So, on my phone, I wrote down go to the gym for this one. But I've changed it to exercise. Because I don't want to be too restrictive about what I recommend. Because I think ultimately it's much more important that you exercise than you go to the gym specifically. But I'm still tentative about just saying exercise, because I think while there are benefits you can get from exercise without going to the gym necessarily, there's something about, you know, training your muscles direct, you know, specifically, you know, weight training, that just comes with so many other benefits that you don't get with sports. I mean, there's something that First Man, Chris, of First Man, I should say, talks about a lot. He says, you know, he's a bit sort of utilitarian. I'm not sure this necessarily goes for everyone, but he says there's no point being good at football realistically, because yes, while you're playing football, you're a fucking beast, but after you get off that pitch, you're just a normal guy again. Meanwhile, if you go to the gym, you're muscular all day. You know, the fruits of your labours are evident everywhere you go, all the time. Now, I think it is a bit hardline that, because I think it is good to have some kind of bonding sport like football. I mean, that's something I want to introduce later on into my life. But I think he has got a point. I think it's quite a funny example, because a good example, because it's so true. You know, I mean, there's the fact that you look better, and that has great implications for your dating life and your sex life and everything else, which talks about a lot. But you know, but then there's also the sort of respect you get from other people, the confidence. It's just ridiculous the amount of benefits there are, that you just don't get from other sports. And I suppose the other thing is it's just a great analogy for life in general. Because it's just it's just a great sort of allegory, if you will, for of like pain in, results out, and that's not. There aren't a lot of. Well, everything's kind of an example of that, but nothing's really, to my mind, as clear cut as that. Because it's just physical pain. You know, it's very obvious where the pain and the gain is. You know, and I don't know. There's something to be said for like if you put the work. If you just teach your body that, you know, you feel pain now, but you feel better. You feel amazing. You feel fucking incredible. Once you get out of the gym, and not only that, but you'll just look better as well. Like, it's just a no-brainer, you know. You know, your muscles are in acute agony while you're doing it, but the second you stop, it's just like results, results, results. So yeah, it's just so many advantages. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day actually. Actually, like after having a few drinks, I tried to explain this to my friends. I said, like, it's just imagine if aliens came down to Earth and they were like, oh, okay, so you have these bodies. Oh no, that's an attractive body. Okay, that's like a not attractive body. Okay, do you get to like pick which body you have? And it's like, no, it's just kind of random. It's like, oh, that's annoying. Shame there's no way you could like improve your body, and then the humans would be like, well, there is. There's a thing called you know, you can sort of exercise your muscles and they just grow. But it's quite painful to do. And the aliens would be like, oh, you must be in agony. It must be agonizing pain. If that's how painful it is that people are not doing it. You know, if it's really that simple. To be honest, this is a stupid example, but yeah. It's just a good hobby to have at some point, I think. And like the other thing is, it just does. I mean, Tristan Tate said this in a podcast with Matt Thurston. It just does something to your brain as well, which maybe is something to raise to the allegory that I was talking about. Okay. So yeah, go to the gym. I think, yeah, or at least exercise is number 7. Now number 8. Like, I'm not a big fan of doing. I don't want to do too many sort of prescriptive ones. I want to go as broad as possible, really. But there are a few that I think are just good for like just broad brush prescriptions. And number 8 is one of these things. You know, I avoid doing these unless I think they're really worthwhile. So like number 7 was basically telling you to pick up a hobby, a specific hobby, and number 8 is as well. So number 8 is learn a language. Now, I've actually got another channel where I talk a bit about language learning and stuff. It's something that really interests me. Back in the day, I was really into Stephen Kaufman's sort of approach to learning languages. Yeah, I mean, it's a big part of my life myself. But I do think that it is something that's worth doing for regardless, whether you're like me, or you're someone who's really interested in it. Whether you're someone who's not, I think it's still really worthwhile hobby. Now, the reason I say that is because it's just there's no. Well, first of all, I think it's good to have another culture that you're connected to. And it's really hard to be properly connected to a culture if you don't have some grasp of the language. And that might sound a bit sort of gatekeepy to say that, but the thing is, you don't need that much of a grasp to see the benefit. You know, you don't have to you don't really need to be able to speak it very well. But no, just the connection you'll feel to another culture if you can walk down the street, someone's speaking that language and you understand even just a little bit of it is really amazing, really amazing. So yeah, that is that's why I think it's good. You know, it's quite rare that people don't speak more than one language throughout the world. Most people speak English, certainly in Europe and many other parts of the world, particularly now. I mean, it's weird, like, Albania is somewhere where none of the old generation speak English, but you see it now, like, even there, you know, like the next generation is speaks English beautifully, which is, you know, kind of nice and sad at the same time. But you know, like most of the world speaks. You know, you can find someone somewhere who will speak a bit of English. But you know, even people who don't speak English, it's generally quite common that they'll speak another language. You know, like in Albania, a lot of people spoke Turkish or German, or something like that. You know, like a nearby language that's sort of that's useful. It's a great position to be in because it just widens your scope a bit more. It widens your output in life. But I think just to go along with this bit of advice is the right approach to do this. So I think you want to learn a language that is that's doesn't have to be the most practically useful language, but if you can see it's best if you can see some kind of return on investment. So I don't really recommend that people learn, if people aren't, unless they're really into languages, I wouldn't really recommend learning like Latin, like ancient languages, any ancient languages at all. Like that goes for like ancient Greek, Latin, you know, Sanskrit. Yeah, just that's a separate thing. Still really worthwhile for other reasons, but it's not. It doesn't provide the same advantages as just learning a language, a spoken language that you can readily use. And similarly, you know, if you live in the UK, like don't be afraid to learn a language that's sort of maybe not as it isn't difficult or isn't really you know, the more obscure you go, like the less results you get. You know, so like if you live in the UK, you want a language to use a lot. I was honestly say just Spanish is like a good one because a lot of people go there on holiday. You know, a lot of Spanish people live in the UK. You know, a lot of Spanish TV you can enjoy, and it's easy to learn. So yeah, that's basically what I'm getting at. It's difficult to describe that one. I think it's something I need to talk a bit more about in the future. Now I'm just made up one because I think it's kind of, again, it's it's on the more practical end of things, but I think it's still good. And I think I have a very similar philosophy to this as I do to learning a language, and that is learn an instrument. And again, I think I'm not saying learn sight reads, just but learn an instrument to a basic level, because you know, again, like especially if you're young, look, because it's much harder to learn. You know, you can always build from a few chords on the guitar, but it's very hard. You know, the older you get, it's very hard to just start the guitar. So, or you know, any instrument, but guitar is the best example. So, so yeah, if you don't play an instrument, I would, and you know, you got a bit of spare time. You know, you want something to do instead of scrolling Instagram for hours on end. Learn. I mean, to be honest, just learn the guitar. To be honest, or the piano. I mean, I think unless you've got a specialised interest, I think that's the best bang for your buck. I mean, like I say, like a similar approach. don't try something too obscure unless you have a real interest in it. Yeah, it's something you can always come back to. Learn, and like with the languages, you don't need to learn very much of the instrument. Just learn how to play Wonderwall on the guitar. It's fucking piss easy. You need a capo, which is like sort of goes over the guitar. But yeah, it's just, and then you can always build on that. You can always build on that in later life. Because just the amount, I mean, it's not something that I've experienced because I've grown up playing music pretty much as long as I can remember. I mean, I can never really remember a time when I didn't play the guitar. I mean, obviously I do, but like, it's just, I really take it for granted. I do see that in a way that I don't take other things like exercise and to some extent like going to the gym and learning a language. I take that less for granted because I spent time without having acquired experience in those crucial fields. But the amount of people who are just like, oh, I wish I learned guitar, or oh, I'd love to be able to learn piano, and it's like, oh, well, why don't you then? It's like, oh, I don't have time now, and I could sit here and be like, oh, find time, but modern life is tricky, so, especially if you're young, I think, just learn the basics of an easy instrument, like as soon as you can. Also, like, good for getting girls as well. Okay, that's number 9, and then this works perfectly. Okay, so number 10 is use your privilege. So, one of the things we see over today that's we want to strive towards is a meritocracy. So we want everyone to only get, the right sort of result for their labours. So so like, if you work really, really hard, you get a good job at, you want to be a lawyer, you work really, really hard for 5 years, and eventually, 10 years, however long it takes for you, you outwork everyone else, then you get the best job. That's kind of what we like to think, what we kind of imagine, and we kind of live our lives pretending that's true. I think it is true to a large degree. I'm not saying it, hard work does pay off. But it's no secret that there's a degree of privilege involved. I hate using that word because it's just so overused. But it's definitely true. I mean, I'm doing my dissertation on sort of classical architecture, and I was having a meeting with my supervisor, who I hope to get on the podcast someday actually. But anyway, he said how he'd been to, he's an academic, going around doing talks or whatever, and he said he went to I think it was a chapel, one of the chapels in one of the colleges in Cambridge. Can't remember which one it was, and he said, oh, the guy who designed it was 17 when he designed it, and at first I was like, wow, what a talented architect that must have been, and then he was like, yeah, but his grandfather owned the college, or something like that. He just had a massive in, and so obviously that's very unfair, because you think, well, what about all the other? There's so many other architects that could have would have been just as deserving to design for that amazing opportunity. How unfair that he just hit 17 and the first job he got was just something as good as that. But at the same time, it's like the only right thing to do in that scenario is to take up the offer of the job. There's no world where the better thing to do is to say, I'm gonna leave this someone else. And you know, there is a temptation to do that. Uh, Oftentimes as obvious as that, but sometimes in more subtle ways as well. So, in which people don't realise. And I mean, you know, name of the channel. I mean, I think I see this myself a bit is that I've always wanted to make room for others, and that's a good instinct to have. But you have to, you know, if you don't secure the bag for yourself, it's just stupid, yeah, and it's not real virtue in the truest sense, I think. So anyway, I think, you know, like we're very encouraged to feel guilty for our privilege. I'm not saying there isn't a place for I'm not saying there isn't a place for balancing out the playing fields in some way. Although I think it's an enormous discussion to be had. That I'm not really, you know, I think you could spend your whole life talking about how to level the playing field. It's an incredibly complex thing. But I just think life is going to be rough if you know, whether you like it or not. So you just, like, if you've got a bit of an advantage in whatever field it is, like, just take it, man, because trust me, there'll be plenty of metrics where you'll be on the back foot. So, you know, and if you don't take this bit of privilege that you have, then you'll be that loser who is on the back foot in the other metrics, and he was so stupid he didn't take the metric in the one thing, take the advantage of the one thing he could have, you know, like, just it's just plain stupid not to. And I suppose the other thing from this this question is, this topic is, be open-minded about what counts as privilege, you know, and then maximise it. So, I mean, I saw a sort of TikTok on this. I mean, I really, TikTok addiction, that's just, I was horrendous times. I think it's really not a good idea to get on it. But anyway, I don't use it anymore because it's just screwed me up so badly. But anyway, at the time when I had it, there's one thing that I saw that was like, basically saying what I'm saying now, like, use your privilege, like, life's hard enough. But the examples they used were quite interesting. It was like, because we always think of like economic privilege or, you know, I mean, it's a bit of a contentious issue, but like, you know, race or to some extent gender as well. You know, like, if you're a guy working in a law firm and you go out with a boss on a Friday night, because you know, that's, you're more inclined to do that as a guy than you are as a girl, you're probably gonna secure a job more than the girl is. I mean, again, I don't really want to get into this stuff because it's just it's a bit of minefields. You know, there's enough debate about it already. But no, they were using examples like if you've got a naturally good work ethic, it's like such a weird thing to think of that as a privilege, but I think it is right. You know, I think some people do just naturally have a better work ethic, and I mean, you can obviously develop that, like you can develop anything. But I know it's quite cool to, if you're a hardworking guy, see that as a privilege, something to run with, you know. And you know, good looks. I mean, obviously in the dating market, that's fairly well regarded as a privilege. But I think in some cases it can, depending on who you like, what's the thing you're talking about. I think it has just massive advantages in other things as well, like You know, employability, making friends. You know, good looks is enormous, and yeah, just run with it. You know, and acknowledge the bounds you can go to. You know, acknowledge what parts of the world are available to you that wouldn't be without it. So don't just think, oh, you know, I've got this privilege because of this. I'm thinking, okay, I've got this. This is a freebie. Where can I use this to my advantage? You know, that's a really important thing. And that's really, I think a lot of successful people are evidence of that. Just like knowing what they bring to the table and knowing how to use it. So yeah, that's been quite a long video. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, but I hope this has been interesting. If you are still watching this, then I'm very impressed. You know, thank you, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed.